Welcome to EQTV, the emotional fitness channel. And today in this video, we're going to be talking about how to overcome impatience, that overwhelm that just about makes you want to scream. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking all about how to overcome impatience. And I can promise you this, it's probably been one of the be all and end all of my problems over the years. So I've got heaps of experience in it. So number one is we've got to understand what impatience and overwhelm is, where it comes from, because without that sort of self-awareness, we're screwed, right? And there's nothing worse about losing the plot in front of other people, or you feel that anger or that frustration rise up inside of you and you can't control it. So the first thing is to understand that we have a nervous system in our body that tells our brain whether we're safe or not. And if you're anything like me and you grew up in a lot of violence, or you had a very anxious or controlling parent that put you down and you didn't feel that you had a safe container that you grew up in, I can guarantee you will be more impatient than most and you'll flip out a lot quicker than most, okay? So it's really important at this time to really be understanding, because they probably came from exactly the same, if not a worse environment. So this isn't about passing the blame. This is about learning a new level of understanding, to have compassion for yourself and others. And so what do we do with this? Well, the second thing that we've got to do is we've got to understand what the trauma is all about. Was it that you were screamed at all the time? And that, because when that happens, your nervous system only has a bandwidth of about this much, if you can imagine it like that, versus if somebody grew up in a really safe container, their bandwidth in their nervous system would be really wide. So if you can look at it like that and say, you only have a certain amount of stretch before it's going to trigger you, then in order to increase your bandwidth, we've got to release the past hurts and trauma that go with it. So it's really advisable to get a good coach. A lot of people that have gone through trauma like that, and believe me, most of the planet has, is to go and get healed. It's the willingness to grow beyond that. Don't carry around emotional pain, because what happens is, of course, if you have a lot of unmet needs as a child, and you have a lot of trauma locked in your nervous system, you will have a lot of addictive behavior, because you'll be trying to soothe your nervous system in some way or avoid, okay? So we don't want that to happen. Of course, another great thing you can do is a body scan meditation. And this is so powerful to either do it when you wake up first thing, calms the nervous system, and of course, when you come home before you're going to sleep or something like that. And I'll put a link below of one that I've created, which is really valuable. What it does is it gets you out of your head, in touch with the body. And this is what we've got to do. We've got to get inside the body and become a whole connected person, not somebody that's just stressing around in the head. The next thing that you can do, of course, is EFT. And there's lots of EFT videos, and I'm sure I'll do a couple for you on YouTube, but it's really valuable to do EFT. I'll put a link below of a tapping video. The only thing is, when you're doing a tapping video that's on YouTube, unfortunately, it's dealing with the effect of what you're going through, which could be the anxiousness and things like that, versus the cause. So if you want to do that, you've really got to go to and get some coaching. So the third thing to consider is by reparenting ourselves and doing this good work, imagine for a moment what it would feel like if you really operated through a filter of I'm good enough, right? I'm good enough. Just that in itself slows down behavior, because a lot of our behavior is, most of it, 98% of our behavior is pretty much on autopilot, right? And when we're on autopilot, we have a very low lack of awareness about what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're trying to prove. And the biggest thing about getting really overwhelmed and anxious is operating through an unconscious filter of I'm not good enough, and desperately wanting to get validation, desperately wanting to prove that you're enough in some way. And believe me, we all share this in common. And it's a part of the human condition, because we were programmed to get validation from our parents. And when we didn't get validation from our parents and we weren't supported, held in that beautiful safe container, we weren't told we can achieve anything, and that we weren't practically, sensibly, brought up emotionally. If we were, and I don't know too many people that had emotionally intelligent parents, and it's nobody's fault, right? So we can reparent ourselves. Imagine every day, if once you did some good healing work, you just consistently said, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. Or imagine what it would feel like. Because as Albert Einstein always used to say, imagination is the true law of attraction. So what energy we're putting out, that energy will come back to us. So if we're putting out a filter of I'm not good enough, I mean, we're going to get triggered by everything, everyone. If we put out a filter of I'm good enough, then somebody can, have a problem with you. And it's like, well, that says more about them than it does about me. So lastly, if you want to take your power back, do the good work. Remember, we can't change the past, but we can take responsibility now and make a change for the future. Put your hand on your heart often, say stop, and just notice where your attention is at any given time. Or even have a buddy system where you say to your partner or your friend, look, if I get overwhelmed, just tell me to stop. And that will give you the signal, there's my overwhelm, okay? But the more you heal, the more you take your power back. So I hope that's been helpful. Hit the subscribe button so you get more videos, and thanks for listening.